I was in Austin, Texas about a year ago during the wintertime with my wife, and I went into a barbecue place, and there was in the men's bathroom, it was set up like a disco in the bathroom. Lights, disco ball, right? And I thought, man, this is so cool. And I took a video of it and I sent it to Ryan. And that was on Saturday night.
Okay.
By the time I got back on Tuesday, the bathroom was done like a disco here.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we actually recently got an award, what was it, the best bathroom award?
A flush above the rest.
Yeah.
This is the Main Street Reimagined podcast, a show for people ready to turn visions into realities and ideas into businesses. Hey, I'm Luke Henry, and each week I lead conversations with Main Street dreamers who took the leap to launch a business, renovate a building, or start a movement. Their ideas, their mindsets, and their inspirations, as well as some of the highs and lows along the way. This is a place for dreamers, creators, developers, and entrepreneurs to learn, share, and be inspired to change your community through small business. Enjoy the show. Hey friends, Luke Henry here. This is the Main Street Reimagined podcast, and we're excited to be once again on location here in Sandusky, Ohio. This time we are at the Paddle Bar, and if you are not watching on YouTube, you need to flip on over there and check out this cool space. We're just occupying a small corner of it here, but you can see a little bit of the stuff going on. Super cool. You can't fully appreciate it from the shot that we're in, but like very coastal vibes here, and super cool place. So I'm here with Ryan and Chad Whaley, the owners, and we are looking forward to a conversation about this business, their journey here, why Sandusky, and some of the cool things that are going on here. So thanks for being here, guys.
Yeah, happy to be here.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to it here. So if folks have never been to Sandusky, Ohio, they've not stumbled through the door of the Paddle Bar here, this is a unique place. Tell them what they're missing.
Well, the Paddle Bar is we're in our fifth season now. So and it is it's really cool. It's on the water. And it is a mixture of, I would say, surfing, Key West, Florida, with a little bit of snow skiing dropped in there too, because we lived in Colorado for a while.
Yep.
Big outdoor deck, live music during the week, and it is a very mellow vibe, kind of think beach bum style, and that's kind of the vibe here, and people love just kind of hanging out and spending an afternoon here.
Yeah, I would say we kind of like to think that it encompasses exactly what we're about, which is pretty much everything that he just said.
Yeah. So without getting to the full story just yet, which we'll get into, but this has not always been entirely the Paddle Bar. This started out as kind of another concept and has kind of morphed over time, right?
Yeah, it's very interesting. One of the things we've learned about business is, you have to be able to pivot.
Yeah.
Chad and I kind of came up with this idea. I don't know how far you want me to get into the past, but we ran a PR agency, just the two of us, here in Sandusky in the past. And we were taking a lunch break, and this building was across the street and vacant. And we're playing a little Frisbee in the park. And I don't know if it was me or Chad, but someone said, do you remember who?
I don't remember. It was. I think it was together. We kind of saw it at the same time.
That'd be a cool outdoor store, like an REI.
Yeah.
And so we did it. We turned it into a paddle and climb. I had a climbing wall in here and everything else. But then during COVID, we got the idea to kind of add a bar because it has this beautiful deck, and there's like this. Start thinking about the business was kayaks and things like that, but we're on the water, and so that happened during COVID, and since then, the bar kind of swallowed the rest of the shop. And
Right.
although we do some retail now, we still have some stuff, some sunglasses and things. It is more the paddle bar than it is paddle and climbing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in fact, and it was kind of a drawn-out process because the climbing wall that he referred to was there until 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the last piece of the climbing shop, too, even though we still sell.
How big was it?
32 feet.
32 feet. Yeah.
32 feet. They had to bring a crane to take it out of here, and that was a whole thing in itself. But it was the cool thing is, too, is it's still in the area. It's over at Goofy Golf now, so people can still use it.
Yeah. Super cool. Yeah, I mean, I'm just imagining how that conversation went exactly. You guys are kind of throwing the Frisbee, and you're like, yeah, what about this? And one thing led to another, and who said, and we should have a 32-foot climbing wall?
That was just one of the shticks, the idea, and we built an Airbnb above the bar, and that's been there since the beginning, and the idea was like, well, why don't we put a climbing wall right through the middle of it? It'll be the only Airbnb in the world with a climbing wall in it. And so that's kind of how it happened. We both come from marketing and PR background, so we're always looking for something to be a little bit of a shining light.
Yeah. I got to give Ryan the credit for that, because it's always whenever we're talking about something, kind of pie in the sky idea, like, hey, we should do this. It's always him that actually does it. He goes, no, you know what? Okay, it's in motion already. We're going.
Right.
Luckily, I can talk Chad into most of the crazy ideas that we get.
For sure.
Yeah, I mean, I love that because lots of people have big ideas, crazy ideas, but it's it takes a special someone or pair of someone's to really put them into motion, which is why I wanted to sit down and talk with you guys. So I mean, it's just that type of activity that lets me know that you're my people and that you like to dream and do cool things.
What's funny? Just a tiny little story, like branch off that just encapsulates it perfectly. I was in Austin, Texas about a year ago during the wintertime with my wife, and I went into a barbecue place, and there was in the men's bathroom, it was set up like a disco in the bathroom. Lights, disco ball, right? And I thought, man, this is so cool. And I took a video of it and I sent it to Ryan. And that was on Saturday night.
Okay.
By the time I got back on Tuesday, the bathroom was done like a disco here.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we actually recently got an award, what was it, the best bathroom award?
A flush above the rest, I believe.
Yeah. And now there's plenty of puns there, but I don't know. It's probably a G-rated, so we're not going to say. But,
wow. Yeah.
So that kind of just says it all.
I love it. A flush above the rest. That's. I'm surprised you don't have that painted on the side of the building already.
Don't give me the idea.
That's right. That's right.
Well, you've got tomorrow, so we'll get going on it. So I want to rewind a little bit before that. Even I mean, we've got a lot of ground to cover, but before there was the paddle bar, I know that there was activity here in Sandusky. Tell us a little bit about. Did you both grow up here locally and why Sandusky? What got you from, you mentioned living in Colorado, PR background, what has led to some of the businesses and different ventures and this really winding road that's taken you on a lot of different.
So yeah, we both grew up here, spent a lot of time here, but both after college after college for him, I kind of played around for a while and then after college, but we both ended up out west. But certainly always had ties to Sandusky. Our parents are here, our grandparents are here, and there was always an idea that probably someday, we would come back. Chad spent time out west as a ski patroller at Breckenridge. I kind of was climbing the corporate ladder and ended up becoming the PR director for Keystone Resort after working PR in Breckenridge. What a great experience. God, love Colorado. So many great ideas of the different places we've been out there. But there was enough times coming back and visiting back family where we started to look at Sandusky. And then Sandusky was a quiet, small town and not a whole lot happening. A lot of empty buildings, things like that. But when you're standing on the shore, and I think it took traveling and living elsewhere to see it. By growing up here, I didn't see it until I left and came back. Yeah. And seeing and just standing on the water and going, why is there nobody here? Like, what are we doing here? So that was a aside from coming back to be around family, that was a good motivator. Like, this is a blank slate here. What can we do? And so we came back with the intention, and we opened Green Door Media Works, which was our PR firm. And Chad was a really good writer, so it wasn't hard to talk him into coming back and helping out with the business. And then eventually, here we are.
Yeah. Once again, he kind of got the ball rolling because he called me one day. He's like, hey, this PR firm's getting a little too big for me to handle by myself. What do you think about coming back? And like he said, it wasn't that hard to talk me into it because I enjoyed it.
And I talked him into working for free for like 3 months. So
Just
that
3 months.
was
Wow.
awesome.
Yeah.
So great sales background, obviously, Ryan.
Paid him in craft beer. But,
That's right.
Okay.
We'll work for beer. It worked for 3
worked for a
months.
while.
Yeah.
It got us going.
Yeah. So, I mean, you kind of skipped this a little bit, but I don't want to glaze over the fact that that's a fairly significant leap from going and working in a corporate environment to coming back, starting a small business. I mean, some people have that dream or that idea for years, and I mean, you just kind of mentioned it with a comma in the middle, but I mean, that's a pretty big deal to make that leap, right?
Yeah, there was definitely some due diligence done. I did before I took the full leap. I met with some folks back here, potential clients and things like that with the PR firm. So I knew there was going to be some income, and then but I will say at that time I was in my, I want to say, early 30s, late 20s. No, not, just able to move, and be able to do a lot of things. And then we also opened Volstead Bar, which is a little speakeasy bar across the street. That's been around for 12 years, so that kind of happened right around the Green Door Media Works time.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a good teacher as well to move on to things like this.
Yeah.
But the risk portion was, it's thought out, but it's also like, okay, well, if it doesn't work, I guess we're going to do something else. Although now I don't know that I could ever work for anybody again.
Right. Yeah.
I think too a lot of it stems from our parents were always good about kind of letting us do our own thing growing up, and even after college. You as well at a different time than I did, but I graduated college and said, hey guys, I'm gonna pack all my stuff up in a car and drive out west. Do you have a job? No. Do you have a place to live? Not yet. But I got about $900. We'll make this thing work.
Yeah.
And so when you're talking about the risk portion of it, I think we were kind of set up for that in a way.
Yeah, and we're both also the type of guys that would not so much anymore, but no problem jumping off a cliff on snow skis, no problem. So those sort of like those kind of sports probably.
Right. Yeah.
So I think there's a tie-in.
Some transferable risk tolerance.
Yeah,
for
and
sure.
same thing
Transferable.
With,
That's a good way to put it.
Same thing with the idea of someone who's like, yeah, I'll move there I don't care if I don't have any money or a place to stay. I'll figure it out. I think there's definitely a tie there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you move back, have the PR firm. You've got some clients. It sounds like you hit the ground running. What kinds of work were you doing? I mean, what kind of clients were you working for?
It was all tourism based.
Okay.
So like locally, it was Lake Erie Shores and Islands, Miller Boat Line, and I did work for a PR agency for a short time before I started my own. And it's funny, I'll be honest, I kind of went into that agency knowing I wasn't going to last there forever because I know I wasn't the agency type. But it was once again, it was like I did that for a reason because I wanted to learn how agency life worked because I came from a corporate PR job, which was very different than dealing with multiple clients. I just had to make sure everybody knew it snowed. So it was all tourism based, and we probably unfairly focused a lot on Sandusky because we love Sandusky, and we had we just were like, this needs to be known.
Yeah.
So why we had to focus a lot on Erie, Ottawa County, which we did. A lot of love for Put in Bay and Kelly's Island, but there was always a Sandusky piece in there.
You were always sneaking the journalists into all the places that we liked in Sandusky when they came into town.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, really, even from that standpoint, you believed in the renaissance of Sandusky, and we're kind of like starting to push that forward at that time, and that was before you really had the other businesses that kind of followed behind.
Well, and you know what else too? It was made a little bit easier when we came back. There were a few businesses that were already kind of popping up, a couple guys and girls who were doing things already, and that kind of got the spark. It sparked it a little easier because you're looking at it and going, man, this little French restaurant we used to love called Zinc down there started, and we came back and we ate there for the first time. I remember going, man, this is so cool. This is perfect for this town.
Yeah.
And that kind of helped get the spark going too.
Yeah.
There was a good group of, we've been back for about 15 years. There was a good group of entrepreneurs, and it was a small group. I'm talking 3 or 4 people that all kind of came together within a couple of years, and there was some good leadership with the city as well that came in. So boy, it was like kind of like lightning in a bottle there for a while with Sandusky, and it's interesting to watch the progression. Now it's like, how can I get involved in Sandusky? And it's like, well, now it's a little harder because it's not just a bunch of empty buildings anymore.
Right. Yeah, I get that. And I've been, having been around town for a few months and, just talking to people and learning. I mean, again, your names were coming up and, a few others that were around in those early days. And I mean, I just had the interview that our prior podcast here was Mackenzie, which is Ryan's wife, and then Eric Whoopser from Greater Sandusky Partnership, talking about, they're really telling the same story, kind of from a different perspective, that around that time there's just, some different people, some passion, some vision, and the pieces are slowly kind of starting to fall into place.
Yep.
And it sounds like you were very much part of that. And, so going from the PR firm to the Volstead Bar, which, I mean, was a small, and it is, still small, but I mean, still kind of a leap to say like, hey, we want to go now into a different industry, but still with our roots here in Sandusky. Tell me about that process.
So that was, that was a partnership between a few of us, and it was the nice thing about Volstead Bar. It was a calculated risk. It's a small 24-seat bar. PR firm was above it. The building had other revenue, but that being said, it was like, okay, if this is going to work, this could be amazing. But if it doesn't, yes, we're going to lose money, no doubt. Just like anything else. But we were already feeling good about the PR firm, feeling good about some other things. But Volstead Bar is interesting because it turned out to be. This bar is 12 years old.
Yeah.
And it seats 24 people, and there is a cult-like following to that place.
Yeah. Now I hear there's something like with the lights above the door. Are we allowed to talk about this publicly?
We can talk about this publicly.
Okay, all right.
We might have to put a disclaimer in there.
That's right.
But the lights, so there's 5 green lights above the door. And if the lights are green, five green lights, that means there's 5 or more seats available inside the bar.
Okay.
2 green lights, 2 seats. If those lights are red, it'll be a single red light. Seats aren't available, you're not allowed in.
Because there's no standing room in there.
There's no standing room, and so on a Friday night, Saturday night, you'll see the old red light once in a while.
And so this is really fascinating because it's like you're starting this. There's very little else going on, and yes, it's a small place, but you've still got to attract up to 24 people there on any given night. So what did that look like as you were going?
It's funny, those times were wild now that I think back on them, or occasionally, because he was getting clients, keeping clients happy. I was writing stories, trying to bring in journalists, all of that stuff. And then at 3 o'clock, 3:30, we'd stop that. One of us would go downstairs and all of a sudden open the new bar. So
you're working. You're bartender 1 and 2.
Yep, bartender 1 and 2.
Yeah.
And at the same time, you're doing social media for the bar, like you said, trying to get people in, coming up with new drinks, messing with the menu. So that first year and a half of Volstead Bar was pretty wild. There was not a whole lot else done besides being in that building.
Yeah, and it was cool because you were able to bring all the different media into it. And the cool thing about Volstead Bar that was interesting though was like, okay, it's a speakeasy, so we can't talk about it, but we have to market it. Right.
Yeah.
So you're not going to.
Right. So, you don't want to keep it too secret.
Right. Too secret. There's going to be me sitting in there, right?
Right.
Yeah. So it was interesting to do that. So we did embrace social media a lot, and of course that was little different times than now. That was we're talking Facebook and Instagram, and that was about it.
Yeah.
Maybe Twitter at that point. We focused heavily on SEO and things like that, but the bar never had a phone number, so you could not call the bar.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's so interesting, and and it's so small. You're limited. It's not like you were having bands playing or trivia nights,
No.
or it was pretty much the ambiance was what people were coming for.
Yep.
That's exactly right. And no TVs, so it was a very different vibe that I think people sought out. And eventually, it wasn't just locals; it was people from out of town or stopping by, and people standing out from the building trying to figure out how to get in. Was one of the greatest things. You would see them walk by the door 5 or 6 times where they figured out, or before they got the the guts enough to, because it's a little intimidating. You walk up, there's no sign, there's just this green light,
right,
and then you open the door and it's a curtain.
Yeah.
So you kind of peek your head in.
Okay. Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, there's people in here. They're smiling. They're having a good time.
Yeah, you could see that light bulb go off when they finally went in. Oh, shoot.
Yeah.
I'm in the right place.
And that was a great marketing piece because then they're telling their friends.
Yeah.
And speakeasies were starting to gain traction around the country, really.
I'd say we were probably one of the first smaller town speakeasies back then. If you want to go find a speakeasy, you're big city, you're New York, you're Chicago.
Yeah.
And now I think you see them all over the place, and it's been a cool movement.
Yeah. And how do you think that played into those early days of progress and development in Sandusky?
I think it showed what could be done. This part of town, at that point in time, and there's some lore around the building. There were murders in it and all kinds of stuff, but it's a long time ago.
It's a brothel.
But it was a brothel. But this part of town was kind of this building that we're in now was empty, falling in on itself. Most of the buildings around us were in disarray, and so it was kind of considered like this, they're going to open a high-end speakeasy bar in the part of town where nobody's at. And of course, I'm like, yeah, because nobody's at. That's when we're going to make people there. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so I think that's kind of was a was a good boost for everybody, and they could see what was done. And now we're standing in this, we're in the same location, and within 2 blocks there's 5 different venues.
Yeah, I think it's cool because it hinted at what was to come, because
Yeah.
it showed that people had an appetite for new things and new experiences, and then like you said, it just kind of dominoed from there.
Yeah, yeah. And then, and then obviously, I mean, you told the story of how this kind of came to be, and then evolved a little bit over a few year period, and here you are today. So going into busy season. So I mean, this, I've seen pictures from this place being pretty popping, on nice evenings in the summer here, and then but you've got to manage the ebbs and flows of tourism-driven folks, and so I mean, how are you doing that? Driving traffic, or how do you manage the business in some of those shoulder seasons or off seasons? What does that look like?
I've always said that with this bar, I'm involved in. I own a little motel. You really have to build your business based on Memorial Day through Labor Day, and here anyway. And if you're not doing that, you're gonna struggle, because let's face it, there's just not a whole lot going on in February. That being said, that doesn't mean there won't be. I mean, it's already getting busier around. The shoulder seasons are busier now than they ever were. But like tell people, the beauty of what we can do here, we attract people in the summertime, and it's such a busy bar. The locals all get their bar back in the wintertime,
right? And
it's a great place. Lot of we got so many regulars, and such a cool place. So I think that it's that balance of understanding that it's going to be go time in the summer, and you're not getting a whole lot of sleep, but it keeps us alive in the wintertime.
Yeah, making hay while the sun's shining.
That's what I was just thinking in my head. Yep.
Exactly. So, I mean, how does that? How do you balance? You want to be a great place for locals, but also be welcoming to the tourists. I mean, is that ever a tension that you have to kind of manage with staff or yourselves at all?
Luckily, the balance has been perfect, honestly, and maybe because we have such good and friendly regulars, maybe that's why.
Yeah.
But it's like Ryan said, it's a nice balance on the weekdays. I think a lot of the locals who come in kind of get their fill and then kind of give way a little bit to the weekend tourists.
Sure.
But there's a balance. I mean, on any given night, you'll come in here and see somebody from Pittsburgh or Toronto or wherever, and then also see the folks from down the street. So it really hasn't been a problem.
No, and I think the locals here, for the most part, are wildly welcoming.
Yeah.
And Paddle Bar has become kind of a third place for a lot of people. And we know that term is like your home, your work, and then where else are you at?
Yeah.
And Paddle Bar is going to become that third place. And I feel like someone new comes in here, and the locals are going to tell them where to eat, where to go, what to do, where to stay, all that good stuff. And they like it. They're proud of their town, proud of their community, and I think this is the place where they convey that.
I was just going to say that's one of the things I probably am most proud of this place is how we've, along with our locals and everybody in town, have cultivated that kind of sense of welcome and openness. It's incredible.
Yeah. Well, I think that there has to be a level of intention around like building the hospitality, the culture, and maybe you guys just do it kind of naturally and don't think about it, but maybe I could try to kind of stimulate a little bit of thought with you to think like, how did you create that to where you have that regular following and where people are coming back time and time again? That doesn't just naturally happen. You're not the only bar in town, clearly,
right.
So what do you think that has been kind of the recipe for you guys to make sure that people are really coming back and feeling welcome, and just then they're being welcoming, that whole thing you described?
I would say, number one, we've gotten extremely lucky with our staff. It's huge. Now, part of that is how we train them.
Absolutely.
Both Ryan and I have, at this point, a ton of experience, not only behind a bar, but just tourism and PR and all that stuff in general. And the first thing we say to anybody who works here is quite simply, if somebody walks in the door, smile, say hi, and just welcome them. And it sounds simple, but it really goes a long way. I spent 10 years working over at Put in Bay, behind a bar over there, in the summertime. So I had a lot of experience with it, and that's really it sounds quite simple. Just be friendly, but it goes a long way.
Yeah. I think one of the things I always say to staff, and if you ever go into a place, bar, restaurant, whatever, and you're not acknowledged because they're too busy or whatever, you automatically you're negative right away. Yeah. So that's one thing. We get busy here. There'll be a line out the door, but we're hey, we'll be with you. Whatever. Just simple things like that make a difference. But I do think that we also kind of create a vibe that is a very. We like to make people think that they're kind of going on vacation, or even small things like that. We'll carry certain beers that you won't find at most bars in Ohio. Like Carib or El Presidente from
Czech
Dominican
bar.
Republic. So all these places where people are like, oh, I had that when I was in Cancun.
Right,
And they're drinking, and then they're talking about the vacation they made in Cancun, and it all happened at Paddle Bar locally. And so that's something that stimulates them.
They're bringing all
makes them
those
want to feel
positive
good.
associations now and linking it to your experience.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly right.
Yeah, it's little things. You're right, and just the environment, bright colors, doors open, garage door open, and hey, can you get me this for next week? Can you start carrying this? You know what? They come in next week and we're carrying it. It's exactly right.
Yep.
Yeah, I love that. Really cool. So something we haven't talked about, and again, you guys make this, sound so easy and simple, and those of us that have done, businesses and projects know that it's not.
We did work in PR.
Well, there you go. There you go. It's like, no problem. That's a good point. Yeah, that's great. So, but, you haven't mentioned the kind of development piece of these buildings. So you own both of the buildings?
Yeah.
Right? So you've also done the development, the construction, and those are not small things. If this building was in really rough shape when you took it over, there was significant work that needed to be done, structural work, it appears. Bringing in a huge climbing wall, let's not forget that, and just all of the pieces that go into it. I mean, I see a sprinkler system. Like, these are not inexpensive.
No.
They're not complex. So tell us a little bit about the learning curve on that, and just how you also took the leap on that.
Well, a ton of learning curve. Obviously, the Volstead doing that at first helped. Smaller project, but learned a lot. Didn't need a sprinkler system there, by the way.
Thankfully.
Because then we know how much those cost. But so with this, we did bring in a partner, a major investor, and we struck up basically a deal where we had some time to put this thing together. And then we bought it from him, or bought the building from his group. So that gave us some time to kind of figure out, prove it, make sure it would work, and was able to bring in some money. This was not an expense, this was an expensive building, and then get the business running to the point where we felt comfortable going, okay, we'll sign the contract, we own the place, it's our responsibility now. So that was kind of how we were able to do that. But yeah, this building that we're in now, the Paddle Bar building, was kind of falling in on itself. We had a nice pool downstairs, and by pool I mean there was about 3 foot of dirty water down there that hasn't been touched in how many years. We did add the Airbnb. That was another thought. It's like, okay, well, here's what I could do from an Airbnb. So here's a little backup plan as we get the bar and things rolling. Airbnb is, this is a very busy area in the summer, so we have to take advantage of that.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember going up on the roof of the building when we were first doing construction, and there's there's a brick. The best way to describe it on audio would be it's just a brick wall from the building that kind of covers the side of it, and I could put my hand on top of it, and the whole thing would just move back and forth. Well, this isn't good.
Right.
So the building now is basically, if there's ever a tornado or if we have hurricanes in the north someday, this is the place to be, because it is iron. I mean, it's
not going anywhere.
It's not going anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, I see significant structural steel
It's here.
around here. Yeah, all the way around the perimeter. I mean, it looks like it's basically completely, rebuilt, reinforced.
Yep, and we had to do that, and we had to do some bonuses because of the climbing wall and because of adding a story to it. So it's good. It's worked out, and that was one of those things where you can plan and plan and plan. Always be ready to move, but that plan did work pretty well. The kind of progression of how we were going to do things. That being said, the outdoor shop was great, but the outdoor shop wasn't drawing enough to keep to be able to do it forever. So what else can we do? The bar started out as a small idea, and then it expanded.
Yeah. And I mean, was that a difficult decision to make that pivot? There's always this tension with certain concepts where it's like, well, on the one hand, maybe we haven't given it enough time, maybe we haven't given it the right effort, maybe it's just getting ready to take off, versus let's cut bait and go a totally different direction.
Well, we did it in a scripted way because we didn't end the outdoor shop. First, it was just
Yeah.
the bar and just not where we're sitting. This used to be the cat. Where we're sitting is where we cashed out, climbers and people that were buying Patagonia.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we started the bar smaller, so we were having kind of two revenue streams, and that actually would have worked just fine. But we have more fun running the bar.
Yeah.
So, what do you think, Chad? Does that sound right?
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. The transition. It's like I think I alluded to it earlier. It didn't happen kind of right away. It happened over time, and like I said, only 2 years ago, I don't want to say the last piece of paddle and climb left because it's still here, but the last piece of that business took off 2 years ago.
Or you mean the climbing wall?
The climbing wall.
Yeah.
Yeah. So kind of back, if you're willing to share a little, more in the kind of strategy and tactics of making this project come together. There's a lot of folks, that listen that are maybe considering projects. Maybe they've got a great idea, like something they're really passionate about. They're confident will work, but they don't have the capital to put in themselves, or they don't have the bankability to go to a traditional lender and say, hey, will you loan me $1 million or whatever it's going to take to do a little more significant project. Your strategy was really effective, where you're able to find an investor and then get things going to where you could either then, ask somebody to hold a seller note or go to a bank and say, hey, this is a proven concept. It's no longer just a dream. And banks like not having to guess. They don't like risk, and they want to know that something's a proven concept.
I want to see the numbers.
Yeah,
for sure.
so often, people think that just because they've got an idea that there's a bank out there that's going to lend to them, and maybe there is, but they're going to have to do a lot to prove that the bank's not going to lose their money. So your approach was really effective. Is there anything else more you would share there in terms of, how do you find that individual? How did you convince someone else to buy into this idea to make it something that they could get on board and excited about?
A lot of it was, lucky enough to be introduced to some folks that wanted to be involved, and as much as you can. It was a lot of legwork, a lot of looking at other concepts like this, and I say I'm always 50-50 when it comes to business plans. Did I write one? Yes. Do I hate them? Yes.
Right.
Just, I was able to say, okay, this is what we think is going to work, but understand that this is not concrete. And I know banks don't want to hear that. But those investors types that you talk about, they're in the same boat you are.
Yeah.
They're usually entrepreneurs that usually got there somehow.
Right.
And so we showed different options and different things that we could do, and was able to convince them. But I would say a lot of it was just to keep looking around, keep trying different things. Lucky enough to kind of have a proven concept. I would always go with a backup plan too. Like, okay, if this doesn't work, what's this? I also always try to figure out things as conservatively as possible. So this is the minimum we need to make. This is what I expect we're going to do. And if we fall somewhere in the middle, wow, we're all right.
Yeah.
He's always been really good at putting, much better than me, about putting people together. I think that's what you're really good at. You've done it multiple times at this point. But yeah, I agree with you. I think part of it too is also when you find that person that is willing to invest. It's also you have to be willing to. I don't want to say, take on some of their ideas too.
Yes.
Because originally,
be flexible.
Be flexible. Originally, the climbing wall was not part of our plan.
Yeah.
That really wasn't part of our idea. We wanted almost more shop focused and kayak focused, rentals and whatnot, and then we took on the climbing wall because the investor.
Well, it was our mistake because I don't want to call it a mistake. We love the climbing wall, but
cool.
when we talked about a climbing wall at one point, and then they got excited about it.
Yeah.
And then because we thought marketing idea, but then we started looking at pricing and climbing walls and stuff, and we're like, whoa,
wait a minute.
we put a slip and slide in there instead. And so then once they got excited about it, we were like, well, we're doing a climbing wall.
Once again, the PR thing.
Why did we bring that up?
It was the PR thing again.
But once again, it was great. It worked. But yes, your big project is it is your idea and your dream and your baby. But if you are going to take on investors, if that's the move you need to go, understand that they're going to want to have input as well.
You got to be malleable.
And so embrace that. And you do have to relationships matter.
Yeah. I think that's some excellent advice. Being flexible to their ideas, relationships matter. And I think that in the case of an investor versus a bank, banks are very much, it's about the numbers. What's the DSCR? What are some of the ratios and metrics? Whereas an investor, they're oftentimes, I think, betting on the jockey as much as the horse, if you will.
Yes.
So, I think that obviously you also made a great impression from the standpoint of like, hey, we've done business before. We've got a great work ethic. We don't just work 9 to 5. Like we're going to figure out a way to make this work. And you did, especially as push came to shove, things needed to pivot a little bit, and you were able to make that change. So it's interesting the point you made about the business plan. I mean, it played out clearly in this case where it's like, hey, we had a great plan, but you know what? The market kind of dictated otherwise, and we needed to follow that instead of just being rigid with the plan.
Yeah, and that's something, it's funny because we kind of switched things over. The bar happened right as the time we started to talk about buying the place, and we felt the bar. So that was even a little bit of a risk. The bar was starting to show some potential, and I'm like, we're going to buy it. That's where Chad goes, dude.
Yeah, I was like, oh, what,
Do you know how much this is going to cost? And
what
I'm
are
like,
we
come
doing?
on. So, it happened, and that was the great thing about, the kind of, it did kind of match the plan. And we did leave that freedom for us to be able to pivot. That's another thought, another thing to think about. Make sure that ability is there. But you did make a point. A lot of times, if you have a good relationship with an investor, you are the jockey. And I have found that it gets easier. I'm working on another project now, and it's amazing. 15 years ago, I'm like an investor. What do I? And then once you do something, then you have people just coming out of the woodwork and they're like, oh, we want to invest with you. And now you need to get to the point where you're like, this might not be a good idea. This might not be the right person. So once again, relationships matter.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's great that you've been able to see it full circle. I mean, would you have specific advice for anyone that's out looking for an investor, as you were initially, and then also the other side of that, which is, if somebody has multiple offers, like how do you find alignment with the right investor?
Honestly, it's going to sound kind of silly, but be yourself. Don't try to sell it like a guy who's going door to door selling siding or something. Yes, you are selling your product, you are selling your thing, but be who you are, because an investor is going to want to bet on you, like we've been saying. And I think it's important to show that side of you. And then as far as like when you get down the road, there is a bit of a gut feeling that I'm just like, this person seems great. We want to work together. And then also, dig into them. What have they done? How did they become successful?
Yeah,
they love that.
Yeah. I mean, just like people have seen, on Shark Tank or shows like that, it's like sometimes you need more than just their money. Sometimes, maybe you are looking for some feedback, some business advice. If they've been successful in real estate or construction or small business, if they've got ideas, perhaps that's as valuable as their investment.
Yeah. And you know what else that we kind of, you touched on it a little bit. The relationship building is huge. I think people probably underestimate how big just going out and having dinner with people, having a beer with somebody, having a coffee with somebody. And that came about in the PR world. That's a huge part of that game. It's just going out and figuring out and learning who these people are. And the more you do that, I don't want to say it's a numbers game, but kind of. You just start talking to people and meeting people and learning what they're about.
Taking that back to kind of the area and the small town, and I know that this is a lot of what your podcast is focused on. Getting the investors excited about this area.
Yeah,
you sell that, then you can start to sell your business too.
Right.
So Chad, that's a good point. Showing them the area, getting excited, and they're like, oh, I should be here. And that's arguably what a tourism bureau wants to do. That's what Mackenzie and Eric that you talked to earlier want to do. Like, let's sell this place in a way that someone might come here and be a tourist, and then maybe eventually buy a house, then may eventually start a business, or maybe invest. And so I think we're all trying to really do the same thing. It's just a different way of getting there.
Yeah, the enthusiasm just radiates.
Yep.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah. And it's clearly been at work in the last 12 to 15 years, as you've described, and has continued to grow. You've been the front row seat here for seeing the progress of the community, and still more runway to go. So as you kind of look out to the future, what are some things that you're excited as you look around the community of Sandusky and beyond that's happening that you're excited to see come together?
You know, it's and this is just a small example, but today, actually, coming down here for this podcast, I was driving down the recently redone Columbus Ave project,
Yeah, right.
and they're stringing the. I've got a soft spot, maybe because of my wife, but for lights strung across streets.
Right. Yes.
And I just looked up in my car, and I actually got out my phone and took a little Snapchat to send to my wife because I was like, man, even this far along, I'm still seeing things in town or seeing things done, and I'm going, man, this is incredible.
Yeah.
You know, and that stuff just keeps happening, I feel like.
Yeah, it's the Columbus Avenue is a great example. You know, Sandusky's now getting a rec path that'll eventually, with enough push, I hope, you know, basically connect multiple counties and go along the lakeshore. You know, it's to see new businesses come here and start up is awesome. You know, one of the things that I get worried about sometimes is, you know, sometimes you hear people, oh, the wind's at our back. No, it's not.
Yeah.
I like to compare it to an analogy of being on a roller coaster over at Cedar Point. We're only halfway up the hill.
Yeah.
Like, we're not going down. We're not even at the top yet. And maybe that's just like kind of my nature. I've talked to, listened to a lot of podcasts, talked to other business owners and stuff, and like, you know, I'm talking to people like, you know, these guys have made it in my mind. Like,
Right.
they're like, you know, we bought an island, but I'm still worried my business won't work. You know, but you know, so maybe that is something to it. But I think Sandusky's got a lot of potential, and we're just starting. You know, you look at other cities, and once again, it goes back to being able to travel and live other places. And I want to see so much more. You know, every time I go somewhere, I'm like, ooh, why doesn't Sandusky have that? We need to get that. Who do we need to talk to? How do we do this?
Yes.
I like, you know, I'll give credit or a little shout out to Whoopser, who you just interviewed. I think I remember him last year. I remember him saying, you know what, if you're looking at a house, he goes, the sidewalk up to the front door is built. Now we got to build the house.
Yeah.
And
There you go.
I was
That's
like,
a
you know
good
what,
analogy.
it's a pretty good one, pretty good way to think of it.
Yeah, yeah. But giving people vision as they see what's possible, see what's being built is exciting, and that's certainly been happening. So, you know, how do you? I know that there's been a lot of ups and downs,
No,
and
yes.
It's not easy to stay motivated, to stay driven, to stay upbeat when there's some big time bumps in the road. You know, how have you guys figured out how to kind of weather some of those storms and just continue to keep putting one foot in front of the other when things are tough?
You know, one thing is I think us two being brothers and being kind of in different spots, we're good at different things. You know, I think that helps. It helps a lot. I think we're lucky in that way. You know, I've got a family at home. I've got 2 kids. So Ryan picks up a ton of slack when I can't. And if, you know, on another token, if Ryan calls me and says, hey, I got tickets to this concert out in Vegas, I'm going. I say, dude, go. I got it. You know, it's being able to lean on somebody you really trust is huge. I think, you know, not everybody has that in our relationship. It works out pretty well.
Yeah. We have probably different personalities in the sense that I'm probably more of the, you know, kind of manic ADHD in the place, and you know, Chad's more like, hey, dude, just chill out, man. It's fine, you know, and it's good because I need that. I need that once in a while, and then once in a while I need to be like, Chad, we're gonna do this, and he'll go, oh, all right, are you sure? You know,
Yeah.
So I think that our dynamic helps a lot. We also have great support from our partners. As well.
Yep.
As a matter of fact, we're all working Friday night because it's gonna, you know, we're short-staffed on Friday night, and that's, you know, that's another thing. And you know, we might touch on that a little bit, but you know, I can tell you a lot about the things that I didn't think I would be doing. I'm doing, and that's just part of being an entrepreneur and keeping a business like this alive.
Yeah.
You're referring to closing toilets at 2 in the morning
cleaning
when we're
toilets,
closed,
yeah,
I
yeah.
believe. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, let's go there. I mean, it's like, what have been some lessons, some things that you didn't think that would be a thing that, as it turns out, are a thing when you're doing this?
You know, the advantage we had coming into it is we were good at public relations and marketing. So that's great because a lot of businesses have to pay a lot for that. That's why we have tourism boards. That's why we have, you know, GSPs and things like that. So we had the ability to go, okay, we can get this place out there. But now I've become a plumber, an electrician. You know, when you walked in the door, they were working on the fire suppression system. You know, I can change a toilet in about 20 minutes if I need to at this point. And so something I did not expect.
Right.
And you got to do that. Like if you want to keep it going. And I think that we both have that attitude of like, we'll do whatever we need to do to make sure it goes. And if I was here at 3:40 in the morning the other night because you know, a sensor broke. It's not that big a deal, but can't run the next day if it's not fixed.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Thankfully, he's a bit more Tim the Toolman Taylor than me, so thankfully we have you.
And I haven't always been. I mean, I built a birdhouse once that was not a birdhouse, but I learned. And you know what? We're in this great age where we do have all these resources.
Yeah.
We have podcasts to listen to.
YouTube's
learn
amazing,
things.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think that's a great lesson for anybody out there that's running a small business or considering a small business. It's like, hey, this is real life. You've got to be able to adapt, have that attitude of like, whatever it takes is what I'm going to do to make this successful. And it might be doing crazy stuff in the middle of the night, YouTube and things that you're like, I really have no idea what I'm doing, but this got to be done. And that's just every day.
And meanwhile, you're also an accountant. Let's not forget that part.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, and you got to figure out how to make money doing it.
Yep.
And keep your relationships, and there's a lot.
Yep.
There's a lot to it,
Yep.
and you guys are living it out and making it look fairly easy from the outside looking in. But again, I appreciate you letting us look behind the curtain a little bit to what it's taken to get there, and even what it still takes, day to day.
And it's funny. I do think sometimes that can be a challenge. There's a mental capacity to it, and I do things to keep my mind straight, from going and seeing a therapist occasionally to and it's basically talk about business, to meditation, and which Mackenzie makes me do that a lot, which is a good thing. But and one of the things that you have to, negative feedback can be tough. Or even little things, and so you got to build up that armor a little bit. But when someone you're here and it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon and you're getting the bar going, and someone walks in and says, "Boy, I don't see you here anymore," and you're like, "I have been here for 37 days straight, every day at 7 a.m." But you don't say that. That's just in your mind,
right?
You know what I mean? So have an outlet too, and that's something that we have with each other.
Yeah, good advice.
So someday we might start a podcast that we tell all behind the bar, join you and
I was just gonna say, if we wanted to have just a strict,
Tales of the
3-hour
Bar.
conversation about Tales of the Bar, we could easily do that.
I am sure we could fill a lot of hours with some good stories. We'll have to keep that for a bonus episode, maybe down the pike. So, well, man, guys, as we kind of wind it down here, if folks haven't been to Sandusky and haven't been to the paddle bar specifically, I mean, tell them a little more in your words, what all is here, why they need to visit you, what you've got coming up that's exciting through the summer and fall seasons, and give a little plug here for why they need to come visit.
I'll leave we got a couple cool events coming soon. Just in general wise, bar wise, we make our living off of fresh squeezed juice drinks. That's kind of our jam, and we kind of learned that from a place in Key West that we love to go to. But that's kind of what we're all about. We go through cases upon cases upon cases of grapefruits and oranges and lemons and limes, because that's what we're known for.
Right.
We got, like Ryan alluded to earlier, we have an amazing beer selection. But we've got, and like you said before, just an overall friendly, Caribbean, almost tropical Colorado vibe. We we love it. But as far as stuff coming up, we've got a pretty cool event coming up.
Oh yeah, we've got Food Truck Fest July 6th, and then also Labor Day weekend where we close down the street, have live music all day, and we're always having live music and cool events. You can jump on the website paddlebarsandusky.com, and one other thing I would say, beyond Paddle Bar, Sandusky as a whole, this downtown it's got its own vibe. I mean, it's a boating community, it's a biking community. Business owners here are friendly. They're happy to welcome people. The bars and restaurants are fantastic. We've seen great food options grow over the last 10 years. It's all walkable. You want, and not only you want to spend some time downtown, great. You want to go to Cedar Point, fine. There's a boat that runs across to Cedar Point.
Yep.
Want to go to the islands for a day? There's a boat that runs there.
Exactly.
So you can really get here, park that car, and be done with it,
Yeah.
which I think is a valuable thing when you're on vacation.
It's turned into a hub for everything.
Yeah.
Which is incredible.
Yeah, totally agree. I mean, that was behind our choice to buy a short-term rental here that we can use and that we can have friends and family use as well, because of all those things that you said. I mean, we park our car and we love the walkability and the boatability and all of that. So, and our reception with small business owners and folks that we've met has been exceptional.
Good.
So
That's good. That's good to
I
hear.
will.
I'm
we'll
sure
affirm that.
I'm also sure Mackenzie touched on it, but Thursday nights in the summertime are
Right.
incredible because we have the Jackson Street music series.
Yeah.
So they have live music out on Jackson Street Pier every Thursday, and then We've got live music here on Friday and Wednesday, so there's just a lot going on.
Yeah. Really love that. And supporting the art scene and all of that is super cool. So again, lots of ways we could sit here and talk for hours, I'm sure, about all that's going on, and maybe we will on a following episode. But thanks so much, guys, for hopping on here. It's been really fun hearing your stories and just what's going on here in Sandusky. To our listeners, thanks for tuning in, and hopefully we continue to give you an appetite for coming and making a visit. I believe that you'll really enjoy it. If you need somewhere to stay, check out our Airbnb, of course. But there are lots of great options here locally. And thanks again for listening. We will be back next time. Thank you. Thanks for listening to the Main Street Reimagined podcast. To learn more about Main Street Reimagined, Henry Development Group, or our work in downtown Marion, Ohio, please visit mainstreetreimagined.com. If you want to connect, or if you know someone who we need to interview, shoot us an email at info@mainstreetreimagined.com. Until next time, keep dreaming and don't be afraid to take the leap.